In the time before the wick of John burned with vengeance over the death of a precious innocent, when the weapon of lethality and egregious anti-Semitism of Mel Gibson's held sway, and the hardest of the dying ones, Bruce Willis, who is indeed everybody's shit. What about Cop Out? Cop Out was the shit. Shut up. Boo. It was in this time, before Wesley Snipes was a vampire and Denzel was the equalizer, that Rocky and Rambo ruled the box office, that the one true king of badassery and action films rose from the obscure mists of Thal, Austria. The most ripped-itted dude who ever lifted a heavy thing to make their muscles big waddled stiffly onto the silver screen, looking like a Greek god. Specifically, Hercules in Manhattan. And sounding like a dude with a mouthful of Greek meatballs, so they had to dub him with a ridiculous voiceover. Like this one. Arnold, the Schwarzenegger. And this is Arnold Schwarzenegger Month.
Get upset on the internet.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Retro Station. I'm Commander Dan, the commander and lone human inhabitant of the Retro Station, and this is License to Play, a show where we evaluate retro games that are based on licensed properties. Movies, TV shows, soda pop, breakfast cereals. If it was a retro game and it's based on a licensed property, we evaluate it and tell you whether or not it has a license to play. And welcome back, my space pirates, to Arnold Schwarzenegger Month. Now we're going to look at games based on Arnie's licenses out there. There's a couple of them, and one of the greatest earthlings that ever lived, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he is a hero of mine. He's one of the greatest earthlings that ever cut the head off a snake god in front of his own cult. Or found the last Turbo Man for his kid. Good dude. So last time, we looked at one of Arnie's most divisive flicks, Last Action Hero. This time, I'm pretty sure the flick that it's based on is well-loved. It's got a lot of love out in the Arnold Schwarzenegger community fandom. Folks, let's cut through the crap and get right to this week's evaluation. Hit it, Cambot Jr. Dick.
Dick, 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 dick. How many dicks is that? A lot.
By which I mean Philip K. Dick, futurist and sci-fi pioneer and author, creator of some of the most influential science fiction this side of William Gibson, and some of the most terrifying tales humans have ever contemplated. The titles of his most popular works may not be familiar to you. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. They sound a little goofy, of course, but try on Total Recall and Blade Runner. So, this pioneering author and confirmed trendsetter and futurist created some of the most thought-provoking ideas for films in the history of cinema. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. His book, We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, went into production in 1974, before your humble Commander Dan was even born. The Dino De Laurentiis group was going to try and turn this mind-bender of a book into a script. Wait, did I say book? This is a short novella, at best. And the guy they called upon to do the script was none other than Dan O'Bannon, who would later write Alien for 20th Century Fox. The fellow shopping the script around Shusett was at odds with the director that had been hired. Get this, Dave Cronenberg. That's right, the Scanners guy. So he held on to the script, and there was an argument about making the movie, and geez, Dan O'Bannon left the production shortly after, as the production company called the film unfilmable. So Dan went to work on another film that was unfortunately unfilmable. It was Jodorowsky's Dune. And if you ever heard of that, you got to check that documentary out. And several later great 80s genre flicks came from Dan O'Bannon. Life Force, Chud, and one of my favorite flicks, Return of the Living Dead. But this movie went through hell in pre-production and finally landed with this mad genius, Paul Verhoeven. Margot, go ahead and fill the fine space pirates in on the greatest action hits of the great director Paul Verhoeven.
With pleasure, Commander Dan. RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers, and Hollow Man. The rest are trash.
Well, that may be up to argument, but folks, let's talk about the movie Arnold partnered with this madman to make an iconic 90s classic. Let's talk about Total Recall. So, it's 1990, and that year was one of the greatest of my youth. I was 15 and Back to the Future 3 came out that year. So did Ninja Turtles, Die Hard 2, Kindergarten Cop, Home Alone, and our movie this year by Paul Verhoeven, Total Recall. Paul Verhoeven was known for satirizing popular culture and ultraviolence. His big hit RoboCop was in turns a sci-fi action masterpiece with a dark sense of humor and enough violence to almost edge close to the absurd. So when they said Arnold and Paul Verhoeven were teaming up to make another action masterpiece, I was hyped. The movie stars Arnie, Sharon Stone, pre-Basic Instinct and showing the entire galaxy her business, and Michael Ironside, the top-shelf Kurtwood Smith, and most of Clarence Boddicker's gang from RoboCop. There's Dick Jones playing Dick Jones as Dick Jones.
Dick, 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 dick. How many dicks is that? A lot.
Portrayed by Ronnie Cox.
Cox.
Really?
How many dicks is that? A lot.
Arnie is Randy Quaid. No, he's Douglas Quaid, beefy construction worker who's married to a gorgeous lady and still dreams of a dark-haired, smoky-eyed rebel. Somewhere out there in space, where he's not just a meathead construction jockwad, he's actually a super spy, infiltrating the mutant underground, and he's haunted by the commercials for a company called Recall. But his buddy Harry sings it better.
Recall, recall, recall.
As sung by America's favorite Stu, Rob Costanzo. A guy I thought ought to have been Mario in the Mario movie, but I digress. He and Arnie are buddies, and Harry, played by Rob, tries to discourage him from scrambling his memories. Recall is all about rewriting your brain to remember a vacation you never took, and provides you with fake souvenirs. They also provide adventure vacations, where you go on a fictional adventure, which I can't imagine the usefulness of would be, because you'd also remember that time you had Recall scramble your brains just before you became Super Batman or Optimus Voltron or whatever. But anyway, Quaid wakes up halfway through, babbling about being a spy, and Recall apparently got to Arnie's scrambled skull cotton too late because somebody already got there and put memory blocks on Quaid. Or maybe not. Whose name apparently is really Carl Hauser, no relation, who needs to get to his ass to Mars. But before Arnie can get to Mars, he's attacked by Harry and a bunch of beatdown artists who get the Arnie treatment from the 90s. And Quaid realizes that he is actually a super spy from Mars. Or maybe not. Or maybe he's dreaming. That's supposed to be the point. After some pretty insane domestic violence and a bunch of wacky she and he and three-breasted nanigans on Mars, Arnie saves the world of Mars, brings freedom to Mars, and nearly gets his head explosivided. And on Mars. This movie has action, one-liners, Arnold, Mars. It's got a lot going for it. And of course, in the 90s, when something had a lot going for it, LJN, in its final form of acclaim, would make a video game about it. This is Total Recall, the video game. Now, it's not the only Total Recall video game, but let's talk about that for a little bit. We'll talk about all the games as we go through. I mean, it's not as crazy as Eat the Cat, where it's seriously just, more than one way to skin a cat. Hardy har. But they chose to simply reskin the cat in that case, and in this case, the Commodore 64 version is actually pretty entertaining. Cambot Jr., let's get a look at the other games first, and we'll evaluate this game on its own merits. If it indeed has any. Looking at you, Acclaim. As far as I've found, there are 3 games based on Total Recall, and each follows the film from a little to only a little bit more than a little. There was a version for Commodore 64, the Amiga, and the NES. Today we're evaluating the version that was made for the NES, as that's the only version I ever owned. But let's take a quick look at the other 2 versions really quick. The Commodore 64 is the home for every license from the 80s you'd never have believed had a video game. Not just Friday the 13th. No, not just Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm talking Hill Street Blues. Yeah, that 80s cop procedural based on Fort Apache, the Bronx. I'm talking Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, had a video game. I'm talking about V, The Final Battle. Obscure? Well, did you know there was a Thundercats video game? Now you do. But even with the C64's limitations, Wizards of Coding got games like Rambo out of it, and usually elevated most material to fun experiences, loosely based on the licenses on offer. Total Recall is an action movie, So both the Commodore and Amiga versions are run-and-gunners, with basically just graphic upgrades and flourishes to separate them. You play as Quaid, getting his ass to Mars, and shooting everything that even hovers into vision, minding your oxygen level as a unique way to count the seconds you have in a level. And while the games are fun, only the Amiga version really has something great. It has Kawato. Look at the little guy. So precious. Just look at him. Look at him. Look at him. No, I swear he's precious. Look at him. Yeah, let's get close. Smooches him. Okay. Oh, and Cohagen's face exploding. So just from these clips, you can see Ocean, the company that did these titles, respected the license and did more than just the basic clone an arcade, slap a license on it job. How did the Nintendo Entertainment System fare here in America? Well, a new company to the console market came along and went their own way with the title. So, this is Total Recall for the NES, published by Acclaim, coded by Ocean in 1990. I got this game for Christmas in 1990, and, I was psyched to play it back then. Now it's been... Margot?
Yes, Commander Dan.
What's the precise date? And how far away from 1990 are we, in years? You know what? Scratch that. Just tell me how far away from 1990 we are.
The chronometer indicates it has been 32 years since 1990.
So, this game is stuck in my mind since that cold Christmas morning I popped my latest NES prize into my Nintendo and crossed my fingers. Was this one going to be a good game? Do you have your fingers crossed? Well, then we'll all cross our fingers and dive in to Total Recall for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Acclaim. Yeah, let's dive in, but watch out though, this pool ain't exactly deep. But the intriguing thing is that this week's experiment has an actual pedigree in the world of modern game production. None other than the company that produced Baldur's Gate and Fallout, Interplay. So let's take a look at the game in action and, wow, nice pick of Arnie. And, what? Okay, so he's a gorilla. Arnold Schwarzenegger chimpanzee. Apenold Schwarzenegger. This kid looks like a damn monkey. Alright, well, the game follows the beats of the movie pretty well, except for the last Cimmerian over there. Ugh, and the comically teensy-weensy legion of street toughs in the first level aside, the game is a competent actioner. The first level begins after Douglas Quaid gets dumped on the street by Recall, and he's trying to get home to his wife, who tries to murder him. You know, like you do. But Arnie wins out in Arnie style, and after a pretty neat subway level, including a part out of the flick where Arnie and the SWAT team are skeleton images, it's great. And apparently, Daredevil's pissed at Arnie as well. Life comes at you fast, Arnie. The game moves on to Mars, and a sufficient enough driving level. The thing is, however, this game is full of good enough moments, but there's gaps in the gameplay that make the game frustrating as all hell. Because look at the way this, Revenge from the Planet of the Ape-Men punches, okay? Why are his arms so little? And his head so orangutangian? Anyway, and while there's no Kawato, a sin against God and Arnie himself, there are actually a number of parallels with the movie that show that Interplay actually did respect the license. Now, I won't ruin the ending of the game, but it does have a pretty good finish to the whole thing. So you should check it out. And before I give you the verdict this week, let me give you a pro tip about this one.
Pro tip.
When you go into the movie theater at the beginning of the game, just press A and B together. It'll warp you to the Mars levels. You'll thank me. But while we're all patting ourselves on the back here, the question remains, does Total Recall for the Nintendo Entertainment System by Acclaim have a license to play? You know what? Yeah. I mean, if you like the license after all, and when you know about my pro tip, then you'll probably really like this game. If you're not a big fan of Arnie, then yeah, you can give this one a pass, but no, it has a license to play. It's a fairly decent actioner, it's got some challenge to it, and with that little code, the game's a breeze. So you should check it out if you're a fan. Check it out if you're not a fan. I mean, it is, like I said, a pretty good actioner. And, well, Arnie's great. And if you disagree with that, then to hell with you! Whoa, had something in my throat. Well, next week's game, folks, I gotta tell you, There's a big secret out there in the universe, and if you ever figured it out, it would change the way you live your life, and that's the clue for next week's game. And if you can guess it down below, I'll send you a no prize. What's a no prize, you ask? Well, it's a bunch of the stuff around the retro station that I just can't find room for anymore. So, I'll send it down to you, faster than a speeding bullet. That's not a clue. So we continue Arnie Month and end it up next time here on License to Play. And folks, more than anything I've said during this review, more than anything I've said to you in person, out in the world, or before I was stranded aboard this retro station, remember to always, always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. Your grandma than my 4-year-old, I'm actually amazed. Like you couldn't even see the forest for the trees. The writing's on the wall, literally that a seed. How you getting salt that a culture blowing up, man? I think there was a point where you stopped growing up, man. Instead of showing up, man, irrationally mad. Don't appropriate impression like the latest fashion fad. It isn't cool or funny to be acting like an edgelord. You alienate friends, push them closer to the edge more. I don't know how to say it anyway to make it clear. If you're the one unhappy, then the problem's in the mirror. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. The net is a repository for the vast expanses of human knowledge and all the technological advances, and I can't say enough how you gotta be open-minded. Cause if you're looking for a fight, then you damn well find it. An axe needs grinding, you're not alone. There's a million other nerds who can bitch and moan and groan about how there's a release date delay of the new game. Man, decrease the cliche of your neckbeard. I'm a fear to the intensity of your love for two characters. You claim I've got some chemistry and they belong together. Every other ship is toast. Call you Cortez when you're like, burn the boat. Say your ship is sunk and you stunk like the blogger who insisted to you. The review versus Harry Potter versus Julia Roberts. The latter's the victor. You're about to make a victim of some asshole hipster. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. S-A-L-T. You look stupid. A real ass. When they heard your rant, the people laugh. But please stop. For abort. You're whining like you want to win some award. S-A-L-T. You're a salt adult. 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 You're a salt adult.